Can you see me in there? Hey! This is crazy. It's humid, y'all. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you for watching. Today we're finally back with another ballistics gel video. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and there's a few reasons for that. Mainly, I need new ballistics gel. The last gel test video that I made, I actually got a few complaints on how cloudy and just nasty my ballistics gel was, and I agree, I do need new ballistics gel, but honestly, it's too expensive for me to just buy on a regular basis like that. And when you're doing, 2 gel tests a week, you go through these gel blocks very quickly, and it's just too expensive for me to sustain that with the size of the channel. So I'm waiting until I can afford them, and then we will be right back to where we left off, testing new ammo. I don't really want to put new bullets into an old gel block. It just takes away from the results, and you can't see it as well. But in the meantime, there are a few different video ideas that I have, and today we're going to do one that I've been wanting to do for quite a while. So this is a 5-ounce square of real leather. And actually, when I got the last heavy clothing kit that I bought, I saw this on the website, and I thought, man, I'm gonna buy that and see how leather will affect the cavities of these hollow points. So you guys know we've done a million denim tests and heavy clothing tests and stuff like that. And as a few of you have comedically pointed out, the denim is good to know if Jay Leno is attacking you wearing a denim jacket, but not a lot of people wear denim, and obviously there's other reasons for that test being valid. It's not just to simulate exactly what people are wearing, but I agree, it is fairly uncommon to see people in denim jackets these days. But leather, on the other hand, is more common. It's not something you see everywhere, but there are a lot of people that wear leather jackets, and this is a really thick layer of clothing, and I think that it's going to really affect these bullets. So what I'm going to do is set up a couple different gel blocks and shoot a few rounds, a few different calibers, into a bare ballistics gel block, show you guys those results, and then switch over to a gel block with the leather on it and shoot the exact same bullets through the leather and compare these results to see how does this leather really affect the performance of this ammo. So the ballistics gel blocks I'm going to use are my 20% clear ballistics gel blocks, and I do have all 3 of them out here today. You can see that these are fairly old, and they even have a couple wound cavities already in them. This one actually has a couple bullets as well, but they're getting to the point where they're getting so cloudy that I don't really want to melt them down and reuse them if I don't have to. So although there is a couple wound cavities and hollow points in some of these, it shouldn't affect our testing, and we should still be able to see what we're doing just fine. All right, so I went ahead and cut one of the bullets out of that gel block because it was pretty big, and I would like to be able to shoot all of these bullets into the exact same gel block so that the testing is just super consistent. But I have a feeling we'll have to switch when we do the leather and go to a different gel block, but I'm gonna try my best. So we're gonna start with the 9mm, and for the 9, we're gonna shoot the Remington UMC 115 grain hollow point. This one always does really well, so let's see how it does. All right, our 9mm Remington went in right there, just to the right of that wound cavity that was already there, and it went down the gel block, had a pretty standard wound cavity, and the bullet came to a stop right there towards the end of the gel block, and it looks like this bullet did expand really well. And the 9mm Remington in bare ballistics gel stopped at about 15.5 inches. All right, next up we're gonna shoot the 40 Smith Wesson out of the Glock 23, and I'm trying to pick bullets that I know perform really well. So for the 40, we're gonna shoot the 180 grain Spear Gold Dot. Woo, that's got a little pop to it. So I seem to be favoring this part of the gel block for some reason, which isn't good for seeing the wound cavities, but it is good for leaving the rest of the gel block open so that hopefully we can use this one for all the testing. But our 180 grain Gold Dot went in all the way to the right, and it had a pretty big wound cavity, definitely bigger than our 9mm. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but you can definitely see it in person. And the Gold Dot went down the gel block. You can see that it had a little bit of bounce back, looks like a couple inches at least, and the bullet came to a stop right there, several inches shorter than our 9mm, and it also expanded really well. And the Spear Gold Dot with the bounce back included stopped at about 13.5 inches. All right, next we're gonna shoot the 45 ACP out of the Smith & Wesson Shield. Shout out to Turtle Lake Tactical for sending this gun out. You can actually visit turtlelaketactical.com and use our coupon code ONESHOT for 10% off your order. And in the 45, we are gonna shoot the 230 grain Federal Premium HST. Another really good performer in ballistics gel. All right, our HST is the one right there on the left, and it had a really big wound cavity, definitely the biggest wound cavity so far. And then the bullet continued down the gel block and came to a stop right there. And as you can see, just expanded like crazy. I mean, that is a humongous bullet. And the 45 HST stopped at exactly 1 foot into our ballistics gel block. All right, so we shot a 9mm, a 40 Smith & Wesson, and a 45 ACP. So I think now I'm gonna switch over and start the leather test. So for now, I'm using the same ballistics gel block that we were using for the Bear ballistics gel test, and it looks like I have enough room in there. If I place my shots right, we should be good. But on the front of this gel block, I have our 5-ounce square of leather, a heavy t-shirt layer, and a thin t-shirt layer underneath that. So you guys might know that in the heavy clothing tests I do, there's actually a heavy fleece layer as well. But when I was thinking about it, I don't think anyone's wearing a leather jacket over a heavy fleece layer. So I just got the 2 t-shirts and the square of 5-ounce leather. So let's see how it does. All right, so I was kind of wanting to use 2 separate gel blocks so that at the end I could just set them next to each other and show you guys the results that way. But I know if I do that, there'll be people that say that gel block might have been softer or, you know, not the same as the other one. So I'm gonna try and do it this way. And if we have to switch halfway through or whatever, we will. But once again, I'm gonna start with the 9mm out of the Glock 17, and we're shooting the 115 grain Remington UMC. I'm gonna try to place these in the bottom half since all the others are in the top half, but I'm kind of nervous about this. All right, so our 9mm UMC went in right there, and that wound cavity is the one on the bottom and the back. Don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it's actually pretty similar to the wound cavity in Bear ballistics gel, and the bullet continued down the gel block and actually went into our second ballistics gel block like halfway, it looks like. So it's kind of hard to see on camera, but that bullet is halfway into the first and halfway into the second gel block, and in Bear ballistics gel, it is the one on top up there. So really not a humongous difference. And of course, these are 16-inch gel blocks, so the UMC through the leather stopped at about 16.5 inches. So it definitely got a little bit more penetration, obviously, but really not that much different from the Bear ballistics gel. And for the 9mm, not a noticeable difference from what you would expect in like a heavy clothing test. All right, next up, the 40 caliber 180 grain Spear Gold Dot. All right, so this one actually gave us quite a big difference. So our 40 caliber went in right there to the left of our 9mm, and the wound cavity actually looks pretty good. It's right there underneath the 45 ACP, and the bullet continued down the gel block really close to our 9mm that we shot. And by the way, you can see where the 40 caliber stopped in Bear ballistics gel, all the way back there. But through the leather, it continued down the gel block right next to our 9mm and came to a stop just inside of that second ballistics gel block. And the 40 Smith & Wesson through the leather stopped at 17 inches into our ballistics gel. And again, when we shot it into Bear gel, it stopped, the bullet stopped at 1 foot, but with the bounce back included, it was at about 13.5 inches. So definitely a much bigger difference than we saw with the 9mm, and anywhere from 3 to 5 inches difference with that layer of leather on there. So that one was definitely a bit more dramatic. All right, let's shoot the 45 HST out of the Smith Wesson Shield. Of course, that one hit the 22 that was in there, so I'm gonna do it one more time. All right, so we got a couple very different results with the 45, and this is why I wanted to shoot these into a different gel block, because I did hit one of the bullets that was in there, but it doesn't look like it affected it too much. And then based off the second one that I shot through the leather, it performed just completely differently. So the first one that we shot through the leather is the one on top out of these two, and it went down the ballistics gel. You can see that the wound cavities have a lot more debris in them, like it's either bullet fragments or pieces of leather. The HST that we shot into bare gel is right here, and you can see how clean that wound cavity is and where that bullet stopped. So the first one that I shot through the leather went the furthest. It went right there, and I believe that it hit the 22 long rifle that was still in there from a previous video. And even after hitting that bullet, it still went further than the second one that I shot, which is right there. So kind of strange, but we did get several different results with the 45, and going through that leather, we got one that went further and one that stopped shorter. And the first HST that we shot through the leather stopped at 14 inches, and the second one stopped at about 11.5. So it looks to me like the denim or the heavy clothing test is still probably a tougher test than the leather. I came into this thinking that the leather would definitely be the harder of the two for these bullets to pass, and I thought that it would just clog the crap out of these hollow points and cause them not to expand very well. But I've definitely gotten worse results in heavy clothing or denim tests than I did with the leather. Now granted, there is a heavy fleece layer that's thrown in there when you're doing the heavy clothing test and stuff like that, so there's a bunch of different variables, but it looks pretty consistent that you get a couple inches more of penetration. Obviously the 40 gave us like 3 or 4 more inches of penetration, but that's pretty common with the heavy clothing test too. So kind of interesting, but I'm guessing that the leather is just so much thicker, and therefore it doesn't come off with the bullet into the gel block and clog that hollow point. It looks like it's more just ripping through it, and the leather is staying intact better. So that could be it, but let's go take this gel block over here and dig these bullets out. All right guys, so there's really not a whole lot to see here. The 3 on top are the ones that we shot into bare gel, and then these on bottom are the ones I shot through the leather. And with the 9mm, there's a small difference, and you can see that the one we shot through the leather actually still has some of that clothing in the cavity of the hollow point, but really not a huge difference in expansion. The 40 was definitely the biggest difference out of the bunch, and the one that we shot into bare gel, as you would expect from a gold dot, just expanded and flattened out like crazy. And then the one that we shot into the leather definitely didn't flatten out nearly as much and didn't expand all the way either, and that's probably why it got the biggest noticeable difference in penetration. And then the HST in bare gel just expanded perfectly, and actually through the leather they did very well too. The first one here is the one that went further, and you can see that it did expand a little differently, maybe didn't flatten out quite as much, but then the second HST that we shot through the leather basically expanded identical to the one in bare gel. So really overall, not a huge difference. All right guys, that is gonna do it for me today. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you liked today's video. Like I said, kind of surprised me a little bit. I did come into this thinking that the leather was gonna be really tough for these bullets to pass, and just because how thick it is, it's so thick, and I just thought that it would clog these bullets up and they wouldn't stand a chance, but really most of them didn't do that bad. I would say the 40 did the worst, at least the least consistent between bare gel and leather. But they all got really just a couple inches more. Even in the 45, you got an inch or 2 less in one case. So kind of a mixed batch here, but yeah, definitely I've had worse results in the heavy clothing tests and with layers of denim for sure. So like I said, I think that the leather is just so thick that the bullet isn't cutting out a perfect circle and taking it into the gel block. That's how you get, you know, hollow point cavities to clog, is when it takes clothing into the gel with it and that hollow point cavity doesn't open up like it's supposed to. So kind of interesting, but if you happen to get into a gunfight with a biker gang, you should be fine and your ammo should work just fine. So you're welcome for that extremely valuable information. But that is gonna do it for me today, guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you liked the video. If you did, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, if you would like to help support the channel, I'll post a link to my Patreon in the description box below, and you can visit me over there. But if you did like this video, guys, as always, please smash that like button for me. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.